Dante back to Clay, dribbles in, throws out Curry for three. It's short. DiVincenzo saved it to Thompson. Corner three. Got it! With 20.7 to go. It's 112 to 110.
Yeah, incredible bucket there on what was an improbable run for the Warriors over the final 3-4 minutes of this one as they trailed 112 to 101 and would rally to score 9 straight points, make it 112 to 110. Klay Thompson with a couple of chances, including a wide-open look from the top of the key from three to win the game following a jump ball and that airball three by Curry, which turned into an offensive rebound in that Clay fadeaway. As we welcome you in here to Warriors Wrap-Up on a Sunday night on 95.7 The Game. It's John Dickinson with you. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. That is the phone number to give me a call or shoot me a text as the Warriors lose to the Nuggets tonight, 112 to 110. And we'll get into all of the different scenarios that now the Warriors find themselves in, as this really was a missed opportunity in a game that the Warriors started off excellently in. They were gifted, and let's just start with prior to the game. The Warriors were gifted a night in which, due to injury, Nikola Jokic, who had 2 triple-doubles in 2 head-to-head matchups against the Warriors this season, was not going to play. That made this game infinitely more winnable for the Warriors compared to had he been in the lineup. And the Warriors came out and they played like a team that really wanted to grab this one and continue their stronghold on separating themselves from the play-in tournament as they came in 5th, but just a tick up on the Clippers. Again, we'll get into all the standings and where things sit right now, but it was a great start for the Dubs, 36-26 into the first quarter, and the Warriors really were in command of this thing until the middle of the second quarter, and the Nuggets with a big run late in the half, and they were able to trim a majority of that lead away. The 10-point lead was down to 3 at the half, and then in the third quarter, Denver really trying to take the 3-ball away, collapse the defense in the paint, protect the rim, and the Nuggets, who hadn't led since it was 2-0, got their first lead at 73-71, and then took the game over from there. And the Warriors, I think, lost this game in a couple of different areas. They lost it when they took their foot off the gas a little bit, lost focus, whatever, in that mid-second quarter to allow the Nuggets to be a hell of a lot closer in the game than it felt like they probably should have been going in at the half. And then the Warriors, I think, also lost the game at the beginning of the fourth quarter as the Warriors had gone from 3 up to 2 down going to the fourth quarter. And Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green were all on the floor together at the beginning of the fourth quarter to prevent the game from getting away in that moment, and the game got away from the Warriors in that moment. They got down 7. Curry got subbed out, and the Nuggets went on an 8-3, 6-0 run there in that first 3 minutes to go up 7. Nuggets would push it all the way up to the 11-point lead at 112 to 101 before the Warriors had the furious rally in the final 3 minutes, which gave themselves a chance. But ultimately, the Warriors unable to take advantage of the gift that was given to them by the Nuggets, with Nikola Jokic sitting out in this one to try and get himself healthy and ready to roll for the playoffs. So 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. That is the phone number to participate in the program. Again, either via text or via the phone lines here on 95.7 The Game. Warriors now 41-38, and that puts them back into a tie with the Clippers as things sit right now. So both the Clippers and Warriors 41-38. The Warriors, though, with that 38th loss, they join a group of teams now that is at 38 losses. Now 4 teams with 38 losses. So you've got the Clippers and Warriors 41-38, 5-6. You've got the Lakers and Pelicans now 40-38, with them both having a couple of games to go here, 4 games to go for both of those teams. The Clippers and Warriors have 3 games to go, but the 38 losses is the key, because now the Warriors need help to avoid the play-in tournament, even if they win the final 3 games on the season. So they can get to 44-38. The Clippers and Lakers, one of those two teams can get to 44 and 38. They play each other, so one cannot get to 44 and 38 because one will lose. Those two teams play each other on Wednesday in Los Angeles, and then the Pelicans, with the games that they have remaining, can also get to 41 and 38. So the Warriors are going to need a couple of those teams to lose if the Warriors are going to win out. Otherwise, they risk now finding themselves in a three-way tie, which could put them potentially down into the play-in tournament. Or if they end up losing that game in Sacramento, even if they lose, even if they beat OKC and Portland over two of the last three, that would still find the Warriors in a spot where, depending upon what happens with everybody else, they could still be on the outside looking in at the top six and playing for their life, basically, on April 11th in the play-in tournament. One bit of good news, I suppose, was given the way everything else played out today with Dallas losing and everything, the Warriors now know that they for sure will be at least in the play-in tournament. But, man, tonight is just another one of these gut punches where it looks like the Warriors are going to be able to get off the schneid and overcome some of the things that have really plagued them all season long, whether it's the turnovers or the bad shots or the lack of focus or just some empty possessions and shoddy defense. The second chance points were helping the Warriors in this game in a big way for a good chunk of it. But that faucet got turned off in the second half, and really the Nuggets over the second, third, and fourth quarters, right up until the Warriors made that furious run in the final 3 minutes, that the Nuggets were the better team for a better chunk of the game without the Nuggets having their best player. I also thought the Warriors, they looked a little fatigued tonight, and it's no excuse, but it's just a fact. I mean, Steph Curry, 8 of 28, not good enough tonight for Steph. Klay Thompson, 9 of 28, not good enough tonight for Klay Thompson. Wide open look to try and steal a win, and that would have been an all-time steal. That would have been the makeup game, basically, for the one back in December where the Warriors gave up a 4-point lead in the final 10 to 13 seconds in Salt Lake City and lost that game by a point. This would have been those games even out type of a game for the Warriors had they been able to get it. But Klay misses the three, gets his own rebound, yet Steph calling for the ball. Klay goes up for the second attempt, ends up getting blocked, and the Nuggets escape with the 112-110 victory over the Warriors. But really, the other thing, and we'll hear from Steve Kerr, we're going to hear from Dante DiVincenzo as well, but the other part of this thing for me is, this isn't really about fixing things or finding a focus. Like there's 3 games to go in the season, for crying out loud. There's 3 games to go. So this is who this team is. They could have won tonight. They could have lost tonight. They could have won if they had played better after the first quarter than they did. They could have won if they had made 1 or 2 more plays down the stretch to where maybe their comeback ultimately leads them to a victory. But this isn't about big picture stuff anymore. As far as, why does this team not have a focus, or why does this team, let their foot off the gas or whatever? Like, it's about winning every game you can, period, of these final 3. And now, because of the outcome tonight and some of the other outcomes, and really the Lakers and Pelicans have made this thing hurt for the Warriors to where, all of those losses that the Warriors had earlier in the year have now put them in a spot where the Lakers and Pelicans are both coming in a big way. They're both hot, and they're both right there on the heels of the Clippers and the Warriors, and they are forcing the Warriors to have to win more of these games than maybe it would have looked like they were going to have to win to stay in the top 6 even a week ago. And so the Warriors now find themselves fighting for their life, to quote former head coach Mark Jackson, as far as trying to avoid that play-in tournament scenario and avoid the 3-way tie scenarios that might put the Warriors in that position. But yeah, I thought tonight, kind of in the big picture landscape of things, it was telling in that the Warriors, I thought, came out and played pretty well. I thought the Nuggets, getting some of their starters back into their lineup after resting some guys the last couple of games that have been banged up, even without Jokic, and we talked about this on Warriors Live, the fact that the Warriors would get a Nuggets team that was disjointed, at least at the start, and that was exactly the team that the Warriors got. A disjointed Nuggets team. Warriors came out, buttoned up. They hit 4 of 8 from 3 in the early going. They wound up hitting 5 of 37 from 3 over the final 3 quarters. And that's just not going to do it. When the Warriors are just not going to win games when they don't shoot the 3 ball well, even if the opposition doesn't shoot the 3 ball well, and neither team did tonight. Both teams making single digits in terms of 3-pointers. But as far as that big picture point on the Warriors, it's just the notion that the Warriors were playing pretty well early. The Nuggets, I thought, were awful and disjointed and trying to figure out how they had to play with the group they had and getting everybody back into the lineup. And yet you look up toward the end of the half, as the second quarter is winding down, and the game was close. And I was thinking to myself, man, like this is really telling as to where this Warriors team is right now, in that they're playing pretty well. They're out hustling the Nuggets. The Nuggets are out of sync. They were hitting shots early. They were getting these second chance opportunities. They were attacking the basket. Like the Warriors were doing all of these things really well. And it was still, oh, God, you look up, Warriors are up 5. Warriors are up 3 at the half. And I thought, they just, and this has been such a thing all year long, they just can't shake anybody like they used to. Like, they just can't shake anybody. They can't reaffirm a lead once a team makes a run to get back into the game. And once the Nuggets got back into the game, and it was only a 3-point game at halftime, basically the game started over. And from that point on, the Nuggets were clear-cut the better team. And we basically saw the Warriors team that we've seen in a lot of these other road losses for a good 2.5 quarters of this one tonight. You add it all up, and it's why the Warriors find themselves in the position they are in. As, whether they won or lost, though, it was kind of one of those games where it just felt like, man, this Warriors team is they're just not as good as they used to be, as they're currently constituted without Wiggins and trying to cobble it together with the group that they have. And of course, the Nuggets are a much better team this season than they were last season, even if you factor Jokic out of the equation. The rest of the pieces, whether it's Murray and Porter and Bruce Brown and others, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, this is a much better Nuggets team than the one that obviously the Warriors knocked out with 2 of their 3 best players not even playing in that playoff series going back to the spring of 2022. So 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. It's Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game. It's John Dickinson with you here. We'll keep it rolling until about 9:30 or so here on this Sunday, as the Warriors now find themselves 41-38, which currently is 6th in the Western Conference. They're tied for 5th with the Clippers. Clippers own the tiebreaker, although the tiebreaker between those two, if it's just those two that wind up being in a tie, has still yet to formally be determined, but the Clippers have it now by better division record, and in all likelihood, if those two teams wind up tied alone, that the Clippers would have the tiebreaker over the Warriors. But once you get into, and we'll do this between now and 9:30, once you start to get into the 3-way tiebreakers and even a 4-way tiebreaker, if it winds up being, let's say, the Clippers, Warriors, and that's unlikely. I should stop short of that at this point, but a 3-way tiebreaker and a 4-way tiebreaker, just so you know, the initial tiebreaker is based on the head-to-head matchups among that entire group collectively. So if you wind up in a 3-way tie with the Warriors, Clippers, and Pelicans, it's whoever has the best record head-to-head among the games played by those 3 teams against each other. If the Clippers wind up out of the equation and it's the Warriors, Lakers, and Pelicans, it's the same thing. It becomes the best records in a 3-way tie between those 3 teams head-to-head. So you'd start to factor in, and again, I've got all the numbers for you. We'll get them between now and 9:30, and obviously they can change here over the course of the last week a little bit, because the Lakers and Clippers are still going to play each other, although, again, one of those teams is going to wind up losing one more game. But the simplest way to put it is the Warriors are going to need 2 of the other 3 teams that are sitting at 38 to take a loss here over the course of the final week, and the Warriors at that point would have to win out. If the Warriors don't win out, they'd have to have a couple of these teams take multiple losses to avoid potentially being in that multi-team tiebreaker where a lot of different things can shake out. And the Warriors, of course, have Oklahoma City at Chase on Tuesday, and they're all really must-wins at this point. They're all must-wins. The margin for error has been gone. It's especially gone now for this Warriors team. But, yeah, you look at it as far as that goes, and you got to win. You got to win against OKC on Tuesday, and you got to win in Sacramento in all likelihood on Friday, and then you got to win in Portland a week from today in the afternoon, and then you let the chips fall where they may. The one thing you do know is the Lakers and Clippers play each other, so one of those teams is going to lose. One of the loser of that game on Wednesday would be knocked out from being able to tie the Warriors if the Warriors end up winning the final 3 games. But then beyond that, obviously it gets more convoluted, and you've still got the Timberwolves and the Thunder and other teams that are below them that are trying to fight and scratch and claw their way back into the equation at the bottom end of that play-in tournament. So 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game, 240 on the Comcast Business text line. JD, the altitude affected shooters tonight, plus Steph, Clay, and Dre gifting the opposition possessions. That is, I think the altitude was a factor, but them's the breaks. I mean, that's just the way it goes. You wind up in this spot, and were the Warriors a little bit tireder tonight going to Denver off of the game against San Antonio because they didn't put San Antonio away on Friday night at Chase, to where they had to work a little bit harder at that point to, maybe they had a little less in the tank tonight as the game went on, because that game wound up being, hey, you're trailing going to the fourth quarter and you have to put a thumping on them in the fourth quarter to take care of that game. Is it part age? Is it part just the nature of having to play so hard for so many more minutes and be effective for so many more minutes? Like, that's something that, like, bigger picture stands out just this whole season. The Warriors' big three has to play better this season than they've had to play in any other season for a bigger chunk of the game to carry the Warriors to victory. And whereas a decent run at any point in the game for 8 to 12 minutes in the past would be good enough to put a game away to where you could hang on and do just enough down the stretch or in the second half. Those days have been long gone, and they reared their ugly head again for the Warriors in this one tonight. All right, let's get to Adrian in Danville up first here tonight on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. What's going on, Adrian?
How you doing? I was just
good.
There's Curry and Clay, they didn't shoot right. I mean, they were off, and obviously, against Denver, they're not going to have much of a chance with those two being off. Also, the minutes, I don't understand some of the minutes. Kuminga and Jordan Poole didn't really play. Kuminga played 22, but I didn't watch the whole game on and off. But Jordan Poole only played 17 minutes or something like that, and he had 19 minutes, 17 points. How come he didn't play more? Or maybe I was missing something, or what?
No, he didn't. He only played 19 tonight, and he only played 19 in part because DiVincenzo played 31. And DiVincenzo was the Warriors' best player on the floor tonight. He was a plus 12. He had 18 points. He was 8 of 12 shooting. He was 7 of 8 on twos. He was attacking. He had 13 rebounds. Dante DiVincenzo was the Warriors' best player tonight. Well, if Dante DiVincenzo is going to play 32, Steph and Clay are going to play their norm, and they did. And I thought Steve Kerr changed the rotation a little bit for Steph because Steph was gassed at times. So I think the question you're asking yourself, Adrian, and thanks for the call, the question you're asking yourself at this point is, would you have wanted to see a little more Jordan Poole instead of Steph or Clay? And if that's the case, then good luck, because Steph Curry's going to play Steph and Clay and ride or die with the championship core, and that's what happened tonight. And whether it's fatigue or attrition or altitude or just an off night, however you want to chalk it up, Steph and Clay weren't good enough tonight. 2 of 14 from 3 for Steph tonight. That's not good enough. Point blank, bottom line, end of story. 2 of 14 from 3 when you lose by 2 isn't good enough 5 of 16 and Clay just chucking tonight isn't good enough. And so, I always look at the best players first in these nights, especially these nights where you're playing one of the big teams in the NBA, even without their superstar. And you just have to just say it. Did Steph play well enough tonight for the Warriors to win? Answer to that question is no. Did Clay play well enough tonight for the Warriors to win? Answer to that question is no. Did Draymond play well enough tonight for the Warriors to win? Answer to that question is no, with 4 turnovers and 4 points and 2 of 7. And he had his boards and he had his assists and all that when things were clicking. But Draymond had one of the worst defensive possessions you'll ever see in the game tonight, as the Nuggets were on their run in the second half and overhelping to the point where the Nuggets get an easy dunk at the rim. I mean, the big three are, and I go back to something that Joe Lacob said, the big three are going to determine how far this team goes or doesn't go, right? He said that going into last year. He kind of doubled down on it in the offseason. And, I know fans always want to make it about the others when this team doesn't get done. But tonight it was about the big three, just not being good enough. The bench did what they had to do, I thought, for the most part in this game, although the Nuggets did make up a little bit of ground in the second half, but the Warriors ended up 36-31 advantage in bench points. Warriors got to the free throw line more than Denver did, which is something that's always been a bugaboo for this team. 17 of 17 at the free throw line for the Warriors. They just didn't make enough shots, and I think took too many bad ones from about the middle of the second quarter until the end of the night. And when you do that, you have to be perfect in the final 3 minutes when you're down double digits, and the Warriors almost pulled it off. To their credit, they almost pulled it off. But when you take a step back and you look at them not being able to pull it off, I think you have to have the clarity to realize, all right, tonight they weren't good enough, and now they have to accept and deal with the position that they find themselves in now among this group of teams that all have 38 losses, with the Clippers, now Lakers, and Pelicans. Robin in San Francisco next here on Warriors Wrap Up. What's going on tonight, Robin?
Not much, JD. I just want to say I can't believe someone actually called in and asked why Poole didn't play as much. He's not getting blamed. But yeah,
exactly.
Dante was in there because, let's just face it, I mean, he's better defensively as well, and so Kerr is putting the player out there, given what he's got within the matchups, you know what I mean? And Poole, was a defensive liability on some possessions. Although, I'm a big Jordan Poole supporter, but I just hate when someone's being scapegoated. So I tend to take up for the underdog. But I thought he played really well too. But let's talk about their transition defense. It was so horrible, JD. It was unbearable to watch at times. Just wide open dunk after dunk after dunk. And you're right. I don't care anything about altitude or anything. It's the big three or whatever. I hate that big three, but it's our core, our championship. They're the ones who have to get it done. Because quite frankly, our bench is too inconsistent, and they have to be good to rally that bench on, and they just look disjointed. They look like they were playing pickup to me on offense out there. Peace out, JD, and thank you for your time as always. Bye-bye.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Robin. And yeah, you look at the bench tonight. I mean, I just kind of going man for man on the bench. I thought Kuminga was fine. I thought Jordan Poole was fine, but again, he had 17 points, and he was getting to the basket, 7 of 10 on his twos, and he got to the free throw line a couple of times. Lamb wasn't very good tonight. The guy who really didn't have it tonight was Gary Payton II, and I thought Steve Kerr knew it and went away from him. Something was off about Gary Payton II. I don't know whether he didn't have the juice or maybe he was feeling a little bit banged up. Whatever it is, Gary Payton II just didn't look as bouncy tonight as he has in these last couple of home games. And he wasn't good. He was a minus 12. Didn't look like he was really moving all that well. And so Kerr went away from him, which I think also increased DiVincenzo's minutes, which made a lot of sense. When you look at the night overall, again, I don't think, Lamb had a couple of big offensive rebounds, another block. He had a bad turnover, but again, he played 15 minutes. He had 8 boards too. So yeah, you could say Lamb, it was kind of the typical mixed bag, but you can't throw it on him. Anything. You look at this thing top to bottom, and the Warriors held their own on the boards. They got second chance points, outscored them there. They got points in the paint to where they offset the Nuggets, points in the paint, got out in transition a little bit. I mean, the Warriors did a lot of things right, but you look up at the end of the night, and it's all of the turnovers, 14 of them over the final 3 quarters, along with the bad shots, along with the poor defense, and just a night where the 3-point shot didn't offset it to the point where they got to win. Warriors hit 14, 15 threes tonight, they would have won the game, and we'd be having a completely different conversation. So 888-957-9570. Dre and Lamore next here on Warriors Wrap Up. What's up, Dre?
Hey, JD. Rough loss. It's a make-or-miss league, and obviously the Warriors were missing tonight. I'm really concerned with some of these close games. I've been pissed all week about that loss to Minnesota. Draymond turning the ball over, and then Poole turning the ball over. A lot of turnovers today. And like you stated earlier, the team's just not good enough when they hold a big lead and another team comes back. And these turnovers have got to stop. I'm going to give some props to Otto Porter Jr. tonight. He played really well.
Michael Porter. Michael Porter Jr.?
Porter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Trey. Appreciate it. Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. For the Nuggets. Yeah, he had a really good game after a slow start. Him and Aaron Gordon, I thought, changed the game by attacking the boards and being more physical. I mean, there was a point where Aaron Gordon manhandled Kuminga and just took the ball away from him a couple of times and went up for a putback. And, I thought that was a kind of a little bit of a statement that our physical was going to beat your physical, and that the Nuggets were going to have to play a little bit more forceful than they had at any point to that point in the night. And so I think you add it all up, and that's really, to me, when the game changed. The Warriors let up a little bit, but the Nuggets also really increased their force in that middle of the second quarter, and it just carried through up until that 3-minute mark. I mean, the Warriors basically got punked up until that final 3-minute mark, where they went on the run there down 11 to be able to rally. And a lot of that was DiVincenzo, right? The Warriors forced a couple shot clock violations. DiVincenzo had a dunk. DiVincenzo had another bucket. All of a sudden, it's a 7-point game. They get another shot clock violation. Clay hits a jumper to make it a 5-point game. Warriors force another miss. And then Curry hits the air ball 3, offensive rebound, goes to Clay, who hits that fadeaway from the corner that we played coming in. All of a sudden, it's a 2-point game. Warriors force the jump ball and then win the tap into a Clay wide open 3, and he rimmed it out off the back rim and then got it right back to him. I thought everybody made the right play on the last play. I mean, you'll stick with Klay Thompson getting a wide open look at a 3 from the top any day of the week. But yeah, he just didn't hit it tonight, and the Warriors wind up losing tonight 112-110. So 888-957-9570. All right, we'll come back. We'll get to the secret sauce of the game. We'll get to the hardest working player of the game. Phone lines open. We'll hear from Steve Kerr, and I'll get you those tiebreaker scenarios as well between the teams that could end up with the same record here over the course of the last week as the Warriors fall to the Nugs, 112-110 on 95.7 The Game.
Wait, aren't these all charitable donations?
At Magda's Tax Prep, every person counts.
I'd rather not have to file for an extension.
She needs new auditors to maximize returns on her family time.
On itemized deductions. Hey, can someone help with these 1099s?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do.
short on the bounce, and Thompson finishes 61-56. Warriors back up by 5.
Now back to Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
All right, Warriors lose to the Nuggets 112-110. They rallied from 11 down in the final 3 minutes to have a shot, couple of chances to win the game in the final seconds, but to no avail as the Nuggets beat the Warriors. So the Warriors now 41-38 with 3 games to go, and the Warriors, to say the least, have to win all 3 and get a little bit of help here over the course of the next week to avoid the play-in tournament. I'll lay out some of those scenarios, and I've got the schedules for everybody between now and the end of the season, which wraps up a week from today, coming up here between now and 9:30. All right, 888-957-9570. Let's get back to the phones here before we get to the secret sauce of the game, and that is Carlos, who joins us next year on Warriors Wrap-Up. What's going on tonight, Carlos?
Not much, man. I thank you for taking my call tonight. I just want to say that the Warriors, they're a great team, but they're not going to get far. I mean, if you think about it, tonight was just a prime example. Like, they don't have enough firepower, and obviously, if they're going to have to win the next 3 straight out, they're not. They've been so inconsistent all year long, and you know what? They need Draymond to re-up next year, and then let's just talk about next year, because honestly, they're not going to get, if they go into the play-in, they're not going to get out of there. Yeah, they're not. And if they go in as a 6th seed, they're going to face the Kings, and it's going to be a great series, but you know what? The Kings are still going to beat these guys, because you know what? At the end of the day, they don't have enough to hold off these teams in the fourth quarter when it comes down to it, like 2 minutes left, and, before the Kings, the Warriors used to lock down teams and show great defense. It's not there no more. It's not. And now, especially if we don't have Wiggins, bro, it's done. They're like, literally, this team is done.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to get Wiggins back for sure to make any kind of run. I mean, that's sort of independent of everything that we've seen. The Warriors could have won tonight, in my opinion, would be they still need Wiggins to come back and be a factor if they're going to beat anybody of consequence in the playoffs. And I really believe that even if they play the Kings. Although the Warriors would have some action in a first-round series against the Kings. I don't think there's much doubt about it. The Kings lost at home today to San Antonio and gave up 140 points to the Spurs. And so, I mean, they kind of showed why everybody wants to play them as much as they've had a great year, because they're the kind of team that hasn't been there before, and you can score on at will if you're patient and work on trying to get key stops in critical moments to win those games. But again, none of this who do you want to play stuff matters. That was cute and fun, and I even dabbled in it here over the last couple of days because that's where the storylines took us. But at this point, it's about how can this team win the last 3 games, and ironically enough, the toughest game the Warriors have left is the game in Sacramento on Friday against a Kings team that would love to put a hurting on them before they even face each other in the playoffs. In fact, the Kings are going to be in a position where they can probably beat the Warriors and assure that they won't have to face the Warriors in a playoff series. But again, all of this, who do you want to see, all that stuff at this point is irrelevant because the Warriors got beat. All right, before we get back to the phone, secret sauce of the game. Why did the Warriors win or lose? What was the deciding factor? Brought to you by Proposition Chicken. And the Warriors losing tonight, and they get beat tonight, frankly, because their big 3 didn't play well enough, and Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry didn't shoot it well enough on the night, as Steph Curry, 8 of 28 overall, Klay Thompson, 9 of 28. That's not going to do it. 2 of 14 from 3 for Steph, 5 of 16 for Klay from 3. And, point totals aside, anytime those guys are volume shooters, it means that things are not exactly going well for the Warriors. So, yeah, you can go back to the second quarter and lack of focus and letting up. You can say the physicality of the Nuggets getting themselves back into the game. But the bottom line is if Steph and Klay have even just normal bad games instead of horrifically bad shooting games, the Warriors walk out of Denver with a easy victory tonight with the Nuggets playing without the 2-time MVP and Jokic, but it didn't happen. You give the Nuggets credit. Again, their force did push the Warriors, I think, to a breaking point where they had to work hard to get it, and they couldn't. But bottom line is the 9 of 42 for 3 isn't going to cut it, even if the opposition goes 9 for 33 themselves. So that is your secret sauce of the game for tonight, brought to you by Proposition Chicken, fried, flipped, fake. This chicken goes 3 ways, now available in 8 Bay Area locations, with the newest one being in Novato. Back to the phones we go, 888-957-9570, and that is Armand in San Jose. Next here on Warriors Wrap-Up tonight on 95.7 The Game. What's going on, Armand?
Hey, what's up, JD? Well, I do want to say that I think the defense is showing that they're getting better, even though we have these stretches. But I think the defense today is more of the offense not coming through. You can only miss so many shots before you just give the opposition opportunities to run and take those long rebounds and get some baskets. And also just guys take their offense on the defensive end of the court. But I got to say, you know what, Steph and Clay, you guys got to play like Hall of Famers the rest of the way. I mean, at the end of the day, this was absolutely disgusting. Draymond did miss a layup on a nice pass from Jordan Poole. He's got to play better. But Steph and Clay, like you said, being the volume shooters without the efficiency, I don't believe Steph and Clay are like Michael and Kobe, where they can take those high volume shots and still kind of pull it out, just for the simple fact that those guys have the athleticism where they can make tough layups more easily. Steph and Clay, they're just not that style of player, so they really have to have that jump shot going in to aid whatever layups and cuts and passes that they get. But it was just it was demoralizing to me to see them just getting really careless after having that big lead and no Jokic in there. Another thing too, you know what, the CBA, and you'll probably talk about this during the week on your show, JD. I'm glad they put that 65 game limit there. You got to play to make postseason awards, because I'm tired of load management. We load managed 2 games in New Orleans that might come back to haunt us. I hate load man, and I have to put this on Steve Kerr. Why the hell are you load managing within the first month of the season? I don't understand that. It was too early to start doing that. And to me, when you throw away games, this ridiculous idea that seeding doesn't matter and the regular season is so poo-poo and we too big for it, now you see why you got to take it more serious. Because you put yourself in a position now where you have to beat Sacramento, and you have to beat OKC, and you're going to have to beat Portland, who can't wait to get the season over with. Like, that last game in Portland shouldn't even matter for us making the playoffs, but it might mean everything. So I hope this is a lesson to Steve Kerr and these guys. You better take the regular season serious and stop all this damn load management, especially within the first month, because I don't believe you give away games, and they were never that good to do that in the first place, JD. I do not get this.
Armand, thanks for the call. You are preaching, sir. You might be the only one that despises load management more than I despise load management. And I'm with you on the CBA and the star players. If they want their award money, if they want their first team All-NBA money, hell, if they want their third team All-NBA money, you're gonna have to pay, or you're gonna have to play in a good chunk of the games. I like that 65 number. I think that's within reason. I'd be honest with you, not to get off on a tangent on that, but I thought that 65 number was going to end up being like 55, where it wasn't really going to matter much. But so, yeah, good on the league for being able to push the players to get out there a little bit more than they have with regularity. And even Steve Kerr before the game today, and this is where, I like Steve a lot, but he continues to go down this path about how he wishes the season was shorter, and the science behind the information of saying, players just shouldn't be playing as many games. It's like, Steve, you could take 10 games off the schedule, and you know what? Kawhi and Kyrie and Paul George and all these other guys with Jimmy Butler, like, they'd all be taking the same amount of games off they're taking off now. It would just be in a shorter season. If you shorten the season to 70 games, then guys that are playing 55 games now are going to play 43 games. Like it's just like it's not going to change, man. I think that's a little bit of a Pollyanna-ish approach to thinking that would be the cure. Yeah, play less games. Like that'll be the cure. Play less games. I mean, unless there's some kind of mechanism to make these guys play in a higher percentage of the games, that's not going to work anyway. And so I vehemently disagree. As far as the Pelicans thing, you're spot on, Armand, because the Warriors are in this mess with the Pelicans, and I went through right now the three-way tiebreakers. And so you've got the Warriors and Clippers. It's a nice lead-in to this here before we hear from Steve Kerr. You've got the Warriors and Clippers tied at 41 and 38. Clippers have the tiebreaker, better division record. Clippers are 5, Warriors are 6, same record. Half game back of them, you have the Lakers and the Pelicans, 7 and 8. Both 40 and 38. So they've got an extra game to be played. Those two teams have 4 games to go. The Warriors and Clippers have 3 games to go. The Lakers have the tiebreaker currently over the Pelicans because they have beaten them head-to-head 3 out of 4 this season. So the Lakers are 7, the Pelicans are 8. And you're going to hear a lot about 3-way tiebreakers. You're going to hear a lot about maybe even 4-way tiebreakers, although 3-way tiebreakers are the most common thing that could happen at this point to close the year, and here's why. All of these teams are even now in the loss column. The Lakers and Clippers play each other. So one of those teams is going to lose 39 at that point. So let's just say the Warriors went out and the Pelicans went out and the Lakers or Clippers went out. One of the two. Well, that means 3 of those 4 teams would wind up 44 and 38, and they would end up tied at that point for 5, 6, and 7 in the West. The loser of that Clipper-Laker game in that scenario would wind up 8th at that point for the play-in tournament. But let's just say it's the Clippers, Warriors, and Pelicans that end up in a 3-way tie. Well, the 3-way tiebreaker is head-to-head record among the 3 teams against each other that are tied together. So it's the combined record of all the times the Warriors played Clippers, all the times the Warriors played Pelicans, all the times the Clippers played Pelicans. Well, the Pelicans win that. So in that scenario, in a scenario where the Warriors, Clippers, and Pelicans end up in a 3-way tie at the end of the year, here's the good news for the Warriors. If it's those 3, then the Pelicans would wind up 5th, the Warriors would wind up 6th, and the Clippers would wind up 7th. If that's the way that it shakes out between those 3. If it's the Lakers that end up in the 3-way tie, meaning the Clippers beat the Lakers and the Lakers end up in a 3-way tie with the Warriors and Pelicans, the Lakers would be the 5. The Pelicans at this point would be the 6, and the Warriors would be the 7 based on conference record. The Lakers have a 6-2 record against the Warriors and Pelicans. The Warriors and Pelicans both are 3-5 in that group, but then it would revert to the better conference record between the Pelicans and Warriors, which currently the Pelicans have that over the Warriors. The Pelicans do have one more Eastern Conference game to go as well. But again, they're going to have to, in all likelihood, match the Warriors in terms of total between now and the end of the year. So in all likelihood, it ends up being in a 3-way tie between the Warriors, Pelicans, and Clippers. The Warriors would wind up 6th. In a 3-way tie between the Warriors, Pelicans, and Lakers, the Warriors would wind up 7th. And in the play-in tournament, hosting the Clippers, who at that point would be 8th. Because of the 3-way tie involved in that particular scenario. So I'm going to tweet this out at JD John Dickinson at the end of the show. I was working on it here right up until we were going to get on with the air here tonight. But that's your 3-way tiebreaker scenarios among the 3 of the 4 teams that could wind up tied together between the Clippers, Warriors, and Pelicans. It's the same thing if they wind up 43 and 39. Like, let's say a couple of these teams end up losing one of their final games and they still end up with the same amount of losses. It would be on display in that vein as well. And I'll add in the 4-way tie potential as well, because that still could, in theory, happen. But I haven't figured that one out yet. But the 4-way tie, the Clippers get a bump and the Lakers take a hit because the Clippers are 3-0 at this point against the Lakers on the season. But I digress on that, but I know a lot of people are going to want to know the scenarios with that, so I'll make sure we get it out on social media at JD John Dickinson here between now and the end of the night here on Warriors Wrap-Up. 888-957-9570. Let's go ahead and get to our hardest working player of the game, which is brought to you by AC Transit.
DiVincenzo run off the line, dribble drive up over Gordon, flipped it up and in, spectacularly moved by Dante.
He's got a pretty good game, 16 points and 11 rebounds, Tim.
He had to be tough to take that shot. Gordon moved, good defense there.
He's got 18 actually.
Yeah, he finished with 18 on 8 of 12 and 7 of 8 from 2-point range. Dante DiVincenzo, 18 and 13. DiVincenzo was the best player on the floor tonight for the Warriors, plus 12. He had the best plus-minus in the game tonight, and so he was out there for 31 minutes, and the Warriors needed it. And he continues to be the kind of player that a lot of the Warrior role players have been much better at home than they have been on the road. Hell, a lot of the Warriors core championship players have been much better on the at home than they have been on the road. DiVincenzo's been the one guy that stood up a little bit on the road. You can tell he's kind of championship tested in the college days from playing in Final Fours and national championship games and big playoff games as well. That he can withstand it and been around in that environment. I know he was injured when the Bucks ended up winning the title, but he played a lot for that Bucks team before he got injured late in the season. All right, your hardest working player of the game brought to you by AC Transit. Tonight, Dante DiVincenzo. AC Transit is looking for hard workers and offering a $2,000 bonus for new bus operators and journey-level mechanics to join their team. For complete details and to apply, visit actransit.org/careers. That's actransit.org/careers for more information on that. All right, let's hear from the head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr, as he addressed the media back at Ball Arena in Denver following a heartbreaker. It turned out to be for the Warriors, 112-110.
What did you see as the biggest difference maker for the way that this game ended up going?
Middle of the second quarter, we had total control of the game, and we stopped playing. And we just lost our focus at both ends, gave up a ton of offensive rebounds, missed box outs, offensively had several mindless possessions in a row, throwing the ball away. A bunch of shot turnovers, just bad shots. I give Denver a lot of credit. I thought they played really well defensively, but we had control of the game mid-second quarter and just handed that back to them. And then it's a game. And, we gave them life and they took advantage of it.
Might be hard to diagnose, but why do you think that the lack of focus kind of appeared or why do you think that?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I wish I could have done a better job of getting them, locked in at that point. I tried to take a couple timeouts and, get them organized and, get them focused. But, those last 5 or 6 minutes of the quarter were really a mess, and it carried over to the third. I love the way our guys finished the game. We gave ourselves a chance. Steph made a great pass to Clay and, back rims a three with a chance to win. So the guys really fought in those last 4 minutes. But, from mid-second quarter until those last 4 minutes, we were mindless out there. We weren't tough enough, not disciplined enough, and ultimately didn't deserve to win the game.
In the first quarter and a half, it seemed like you guys moved without the ball and passed as well as you have all season. Did the Nuggets did they pack the lane in more? Did you guys get tired? It seemed like for a long stretch, there were a lot of standing around after that.
We'll watch the tape, but I felt the same way. We had, a lot of good possessions early. Ball was moving. There was a good flow to the game, and then the flow stopped. We had, as I said, some really mindless possessions where we just didn't share the ball, didn't move it or threw it to them, and that led to some buckets for them and got them back into the game.
You mentioned not loving some of the shots that you guys took. Just what did you think of your shot selection, and especially last night? Not great. Yeah, we were taking quick ones. We weren't trusting each other, moving it on. Again, Denver played well defensively, and they forced us into some tough possessions, but just felt like we were not sharp,
not trusting the ball movement, that we could get the ball to the second side and create a better look. We took a lot of quick ones, got a little out of control, 15 turnovers that turned into 17 points for them after I think we had maybe 5 in the first 18, 20 minutes of the game. So game got away from us.
Given what's at stake and the stage we're at in the season, is it frustration, anger? How do you feel coming in the locker room? How does the team feel?
Frustrated, yeah. Yeah, this is a game that's right there for us, and obviously a huge game with everything that's at stake and in control of the game, 15-point lead, playing well, and then we stopped doing the things that got us to that point.
Following up on that, I mean, three games left in the regular season, 2 of which are on the road, playoffs right after that. I know you guys have the utmost confidence in your guys' ability to always push through, but does there come a point where there is, like, you guys, we have to figure this out all season long, what needs to happen to change this to the playoffs?
We just have to keep going, keep pushing. This season has been like this, all year. It's been stops and starts, and just when you think we've got some momentum, we give it back, and we just have to keep pushing. There's no sense in looking backwards. There's no sense in assessing all of that. There's plenty of time for that in the off season. So right now it's just we watch the film tonight, figure out what we can do better, get ready for Tuesday.
This has been one of the more challenging years for you as a coach, just because of the stops and goes, and it seems like you guys are going to go for a run and then it kind of comes back.
I mean, every year is challenging, and every year presents different challenges and adversity, and so you go with it. I love coaching this team. It's a great group of guys. I have fun every day coming to work. So, is it frustrating? Yeah, it's frustrating that we haven't been able to win more of these games. But every year you go through stuff, and it's a big part of the job, and you keep moving forward.
I apologize for asking. I'm sure you've had to answer this question multiple times, but the home road disparity, have you have any theories about?
No, I do not.
Steph obviously shot unusually 2 for 14 from threes. Is any fatigue? And was that shot selection? What do you think? Or was it just a bad night?
Just a bad night. He's entitled to those. He's had such an incredible year, and he's played so well. He's done so much for us, and just a tough night. That's all.
Yeah, tough night, and it happens, but it's a tough night that winds up putting the Warriors in a really vulnerable position here with 3 games to go, and one of those 3 at home, and a game against a tough Sacramento team on Friday, and then a game that should be a nice one to have in your back pocket a week from today against Portland if you need it. But you got to let it all shake out, and the Warriors unable to take advantage of the hot start tonight and pull this one off with the Nuggets playing without Nikola Jokic has set up a frenzied finish here over the course of the final 3 games for the Warriors, final 4 games for others here over this final now 7 days, but it's really 6 days because nobody plays tomorrow as the NBA takes the night off for the NCAA tournament national championship game. So everybody's back in action with games to be played on Tuesday, including the Warriors, who will take on Oklahoma City in their home finale at Chase Center coming up Tuesday at 7 o'clock. All right, just quickly running down the schedules for the teams that are in this glut, and we'll keep it to the Clippers and Warriors, Lakers and Pelicans at this point because the Timberwolves are a couple of games back in the loss column, as are the Thunder. Suns are now a couple of games ahead of that group in the loss column as well, looking like the Suns are all but locked in to be the 4 seed in the West, but I do want to get this out there for everybody to have. The Clippers, among their final 3 games, Clippers and Warriors have 3 games left. The Clippers play the Lakers. The Clippers play Portland at home, a Saturday afternoon game against Portland, and then at Phoenix at the end. And Phoenix could be locked into the 4 seed at that point, that game next Sunday. So the Clippers don't play until Wednesday, and then Saturday and Sunday against Portland and Phoenix. The Warriors, of course, have OKC at Sac and at Portland. And then the Lakers have 2 games against Utah. The Lakers play at Utah, then play the Clippers in a game where they are the road team at the Crypt against the Clippers down in Southern California. They host Phoenix and then play Utah at home next week. So 1 road game left for the Lakers. Well, 2 technically, but 1 away from Crypto.com Arena. And the Pelicans have a tougher schedule, frankly. They have Sacramento, albeit in New Orleans, and the Kings are all but locked into the 3 seed at this point, although still an outside chance for 2, although that went by the wayside with them losing at home to San Antonio this afternoon. Pelicans have the Kings, the Grizzlies in New Orleans. They still play the Knicks, do the Pelicans, in New Orleans as well. So their next 3 are at home, and then they finish at Minnesota in a game where the Timberwolves are probably going to need that game to just stay alive for the 9 or the 10. And so this thing is going to get really interesting between now and next Sunday afternoon when it's all said and done. All right, that'll do it. We'll be back with you. Make sure you keep it on 95.7 The Game all day long tomorrow, and then join me as I'll be back with you for Warriors Live at 6 o'clock from Chase on Tuesday. Final home game of the 2022-23 season, Warriors and the Thunder. And we'll have that for you again, 6 o'clock for Warriors Live. So that'll do it. Nuggets beat the Warriors tonight. Tough one, 112-110. And you heard it all right here on 95.7 The Game. Good night.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
With car prices at an all-time high, our donors are now getting highest receipts ever. Donate at carsforkids.org and your car can be picked up tomorrow.